Now I know this says Xeon, but it's actually a Toyota GT86. My friend just rebadged it to Xeon for some reason. Now, when the GT86 came out in 2012, there was one hell of a hype surrounding this car. It was a front-engine, rear-wheel drive sports car with Subaru Boxer engine, manual gearbox, and a lot of drifty fun. All for the price of an entry-level Mercedes, and even less in some countries. Now, I remember watching this car on season 19 of Top Gear back in 2013, being driven by Jeremy Clarkson, and he had an absolute blast in that car. And ever since then, I fell in love with this car, and it has been one of my dream cars that hopefully I get to buy with my own money in the future. I drove a GT86 a few years ago, but I only drove it for a little while and I don't remember what the car felt like to drive. And I never did a full review of the GT86. So for this video, my friend has handed me the keys to his GT86 and let's see what this car is like to drive. And let's see if it's still my dream car after all these years. Before we start, this is a 2014 Toyota GT86, and as you can see, it's not standard. Some modifications in this car include the 18-inch fork race TE37 SL with Toyo Proxys tires, an HKS Max Japan spec for the muffler, mid-pipe and front pipe, a TRD aero fin, and a couple of LNT facelift V1 taillights at the back. It's also a TRD Aero Pack edition, so that's why it has the extra body kit bits and the larger rear spoiler at the back. Apart from that, the engine and the car is pretty much standard as is from the factory. Okay, so first of all, I'd like to apologize that the video is probably a bit dark. It's cloudy right now and the windows are tinted and the footage might appear a bit shaky because there's quite a lot of vibrations in this car. But yeah, we're here, we're driving the GT86, so yeah, let's talk about the engine. It has a 2-liter 4-cylinder engine by Subaru, 197 horsepower and 151 pound-feet of torque. Now, that is less than the Mini Cooper that I drove last time. The Mini has 161 pound-feet of torque. This one only has 151, so it's 10 less. Doesn't sound like much, but honestly though, this car, it doesn't feel that fast. It's not fast. You know, not to 100 kilometers an hour is about 7.6 seconds. It's still faster than a Mini, but it doesn't feel that fast. You know, I think it's because the power is mostly at the top of the rev range, and also what else? The power is mostly at the top of the rev range, and it's not turbocharged. It's naturally aspirated, so it doesn't feel that fast. But one thing to note is that with this HKS Max exhaust system, it sounds good. It's not fast. It's not fast, but it sounds pretty good. It sounds really good. It doesn't sound like a fart cannon, you know. It doesn't sound like a ricer. It sounds like a proper performance 4-cylinder engine. I quite like the way it sounds. So obviously, in terms of straight line speed and acceleration, this car won't win any drag races, at least with the standard engine. But I think the highlight of this car when Toyota launched it was really, it's all about the handling, you know, front engine, rear wheel drive. This car is probably really more for drifting. So let's drift it around. Nah, I'm kidding, I'm not gonna drift it around. My friend is going to kill me if I drift this car. But okay, I can test the handling a bit, see what's what. Okay, so the handling. Okay, I got a bit distracted there. Okay, the handling. Okay, where was I? Well, one thing I noticed is that the steering of the car is not as quick as the Mini. So in the Mini, it's really quick steering. In this car, you put quite a lot of input into the steering, but it doesn't turn as much as you thought it would, especially if you've driven a Mini Cooper. So you have to turn it a bit further forward, a bit further to really get the car turning. And if you're, let's say you're on a track day, or you're drifting around or whatever, and you really want to make use of that engine, you have to be at a really low gear when you're going through a corner. Make sure the RPM is around 5,000 RPM or so. Otherwise, when you exit the corner, the car won't have any power when you accelerate, obviously. But yeah, in terms of handling, it's pretty good. I like the steering wheel. I think the shape of the steering wheel, the size is perfect for me. And also there's enough weight in the steering wheel as well. And also, it's pretty stable. You know, maybe it's because of the Toyo tires. It's slightly bigger and slightly wider than the standard skinny Prius tires that you get in a standard GT86. But yeah, the car feels stable. It's grippy both at the front and at the back. And the chassis, I think, is, yeah, it's really stable. Not a lot of body roll, but I think there's just enough body roll there to sort of encourage you to drift the car. I don't know what I'm talking about, to be honest. I'm not that great of a reviewer, you know. But what I can say is that it's fun. I will say that much. It's a pretty fun handling car. That is something that I can tell you. That's for sure. Okay, so pretty fun. I have nothing to complain about the handling, except for the steering could be a bit quicker. But what my issue is with the gearbox. So the automatic gearbox is fine. It's not great. It's a decent gearbox. But I can't help but think that if I was driving a manual gearbox in this car, I would have way more fun with it. I would be having way more fun with it right now. A manual gearbox is more engaging. You know, you decide more on what the car is doing. You have to put the effort in changing the gear instead of just flicking a 5V paddle like that. You have to put some effort. You have to put some thought in changing the gear and engaging and disengaging the clutch. I can't help but think that a manual is going to be better because it's gonna be way more fun. That's just the fact. You know, it's gonna be way more fun. It's gonna be way more interesting to drive with a manual. But you know, if you're thinking of driving this car daily, like for example, let's say, oh, I want to buy a GT86 and I want to drive it daily. Yeah, it makes sense to get an automatic. Obviously, with the traffic that we have in Jakarta, it makes way more sense to have an automatic. But when you're on a road like this and you're having fun with the handling, you're gonna want a manual. It's just more fun. It's more engaging. So let's talk about the interior. So first of all, I like the overall design of the interior. You know, the way the dashboard sits, the steering wheel. I like the seating position. You get a good view ahead and you get a good feel of what the whole car is going through, what the whole chassis is going through. I think it's pretty good. But the thing is that I've noticed the build quality of this interior just isn't there. I like the design of the switches. I think the switches look good, but they do feel a bit cheap. They do feel a bit light and plasticky. And some of the panel is also plasticky. See? Not all. Some of this is still leather and mostly feel good, but there are just a few weak points. But to be fair, most of the switches that matters, like the sport mode, the pedal shift, they all feel really nice. And to be honest, build quality isn't really the focus of this car. You know, unlike a Mini Cooper or a Mercedes or a BMW. Build quality isn't really something that this car was focusing on. Again, it was focusing on that handling, on the overall driving sensation and experience of this car. So the interior isn't really on the priority list for Toyota when designing this car. I will, however, complain about the entertainment system. I think it looks absolutely horrid. It looks like a third-party and aftermarket entertainment system. It doesn't look like something Toyota designed themselves. So I think they bought it from Kenwood actually, and this is the Kenwood system, and that's it. You know, it doesn't look great. It looks third-party. It looks cheap. But to be fair, it does have things that matter, like GPS, and you know, you can connect your Bluetooth, and yeah, all the things that you need really is already here. Yeah, it's functional. I'll give you that. I'll give it that to the car. You know, it's functional, but it's not exactly high quality feeling. One thing I want to appreciate in this car is the front passenger seats. So the back, you have 2 seats and you can fit 2 adults, but it's not very comfortable back there. The front, however, is really comfortable and you get a lot of leg room. And if you put the seats for the back, there's a lot of space and you can fit your dog or a nuclear warhead if you want. Really, your imagination's the limit. I'm not very tall, I'm 170 centimeters on a good day, but yeah, I can tell you this is a lot of leg room, and I think most people will be comfortable as a passenger in this car. Good to know. How would I sum up this car? How would I conclude this review? Well, it's a fun little sports car. I had fun today with this car. My one complaint would be the steering, which, as I've said, is not very quick. It's not as quick as the Mini, but maybe the steering is better for drifting. I don't know. I'm not really sure. But also, another thing is that I would prefer to drive the Mini on a daily basis. I think the Mini has a better interior. It has better build quality, so it's a nicer car to be in. It's a nicer car to be stuck in traffic in. Well, this car, the interior isn't that great, but yeah, it's still a fun little car. And I think most importantly, what this car is that it's like a blank canvas. So what I mean by that is that this car was designed to be fun. It's a fun little car, but there's a lot of potential. You know, you can do what you want with this car. If you want to make it look better, there's a bunch of body kits that you can fit in, a bunch of spoilers and aftermarket wheels as well. And if you want to make it go faster, you can also install a suspension kit or some big brakes to make it go faster around the corner, or you can install a supercharger or a turbocharger, or if you have a lot of time and money, then you can fit in a V8 even in this car. I've seen that. So you can make it go faster in a straight line as well. Really, your imagination is the limit with this car. Your imagination, and of course your wallet, is the limit with this car. I think that's what this car is. It's a project car. You know, a standard, it's good enough, but really it's a project car. It's a car that you fiddle around with within the weekend. That's what this car is. So, do I still like it? Is it still my dream car after all these years? I would say yeah. I still like this car. I think it's a fun little car to drive, and personally, if this was my car, if I had bought this car with my own money, I would modify it to make it go a little bit faster, both in the straight line and in the corners. You know, basically make it a track day car. That's what I'm saying. But yeah, I still like this car. It's still fun and desirable. Good to know. Thank you guys for watching. If you like the video, you know what to do. If you don't like the video, then send it to someone you hate. You know, waste their time. You know. But yeah, let me know in the comments what you like and what you didn't like about this video. And that's it for today. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.